Welcome to Beyond Belief, the art of strange mentalism, with your host, Tommy Burnett. Today's guest is Ashton Carter. And now your host, Tommy Burnett.
Hello and welcome back to Beyond Belief, the art of strange mentalism, with me, Tommy Burnett, your host. And today we have a great show, as always. A friend of mine who I haven't talked to in a few years, but we met at the Doomsday Convention, which is a bizarre magic convention in Derby in the UK. And it was very kind to me. I was competing in the competition they have every other year. It was my first time, and I was kind of nervous. And at one point I thought I had the whole thing in the bag, but then the last person came out and floored everybody, and I was jealous for about 3 seconds, and then I was like, all right, yeah, you got it, good man, good man. It was a lot of fun, and I made a lot of friends, and one of them is our guest today. Please help me welcome Mr. Ashton Carter. Boom. There he is. Hi, Ashton.
Hello, good evening.
Good to see
How are
you.
you, Tommy?
I'm very well. I'm always happy when my guests arrive, and even if there's some technical snafu, we always get it taken care of before the show, and it's such a real pleasure to have you. I'm always kind of floored when people say yes. So thank you for saying yes.
Thank you for the invite and the beautiful introduction.
Oh,
Because that I remember that Hex Factor. Because the competition is the Hex Factor. We have 8 acts. You get 10 minutes each, and it's a fantastic Saturday night activity. It's a brilliant prize, and the audience votes. And I help with Nick, who I think is on listening in. So I've got to be careful what I say. Nick
yeah, thank you. Yeah.
in looking after the guests and making sure the acts have got everything they need. And I remember sitting at the back with you, Tommy, during that. And it was fascinating. And Tommy did a fabulous act where he was a time traveler. And it was brilliant. And the perfect ending would have been if Tommy had come the following year and just wanted the envelope with his prediction, but it was not to be. But that was really great. And yeah, the winner of that year was next level, absolutely brilliant. But yeah, thank you for inviting me. Based in the UK in Sheffield, so it's my evening to your afternoon.
That's right. Yeah, it's you're about 5 hours ahead, so it's got to be a little bit after 9 where you are. Yeah. So again, much appreciated for coming on the show so late in the evening.
Oh, that's okay.
Yeah, I always feel bad for people in the UK. Because if it was me, I'd be like, well, it's kind of late, but I like you, so I'll do it. But
there was no thinking. It's like, yeah, I get to hang out with somebody and have a good chat, and that's
nice.
good enough.
Nice.
Whether anyone else listens in, I don't care. So
fair enough. Yeah. So I mean, all I really know about you is from that few days in Derby. Obviously, I know you do bizarre. What is that all you do, or do you do other kinds of magic
Oh no.
too? Oh
So
no.
I give you a little potted history for
Yeah,
everyone. So
please. Yeah.
I'm based in Sheffield in the UK. I came to magic quite late in my life. So I did a geology and physics degree. I did a master's in computational geology, and then couldn't
Wow.
find a job thanks to the 1990s recession. So
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not going to get political, but I'm blaming Thatcher for that. So I ended up working in
Oh yeah.
IT.
Somebody has to.
Oh, don't. So I ended up working in IT in the City of London, in the finance world, and it is a very strange place. If you've seen The Wolf of Wall Street, I consider that a documentary, and it's tame. That is tame to the things that I saw. So after a sort of 5 years, I moved north to Sheffield. So if you don't know Sheffield, we're kind of halfway between London and Edinburgh.
hmm
We are on the edge of the Peak District National Park, which is the most beautiful part of the country, rolling hills, exactly how you imagine um, England to be. It's beautiful. And we're the little industrial heartland city in the middle of this beauty, where the steel used to come from. Um, and I then worked in the charity sector. And in 2018, I decided that I really wanted to concentrate on the magic. So I took the challenging decision to go full-time professional magician. And that's where it started. But I got into magic when I got to Sheffield in about 2002. In
hmm
Sheffield, we have a magic shop called Magic Enterprises,
hmm
and it's run by a gentleman who many people will know or who will have heard of, Russell Hall, who's
Oh
been an
yeah.
amazing supporter of magicians for over 50 years. And he opens his shop up every Saturday. And local magicians just used to go down and abuse the hospitality. So we'd drink tea, we'd eat biscuits, and we'd talk magic. And so many magic careers have started in that room. Absolutely amazing. And that's where I developed my love of magic. Prior to that, I've been always performing, but mostly in juggling. I've got a great love of clowning, and I like my circus arts. But magic really resonated. And one of the joys of Magic Enterprises is there's a real little hub of bizarre magicians. So we've got Russell, we've got Roger Curzon, who has written extensively, who many people will know. If you don't
Mhm.
know him, check out his books; they're fantastic. Um, we have Jim Critchlow, an absolute
Yeah.
legend in
Yeah.
in certainly in UK Bazaar. His name has probably hopefully moved across the Atlantic. He would come in with his box of tricks and show us the latest thing. And it was great. And I loved this idea that I could take magic, I could blend it with the storytelling I do, and create really sort of interesting sort of theatre with the bizarre magic. And that's where it sort of started from. Um, Parallel to that, I've spent 30 years running immersive horror events and live action role playing events where we will create a story for people to engage in. We'll take you to a beautiful country house. The largest one we use is a 27-bed mansion house with ballroom and grand staircase and servants' quarters, very Downton Abbey. Um, and we'll let you explore by being characters. So a bit like tabletop role playing, only
Okay.
it's a live environment. It's happening in real time. And if something comes out to attack you, it will hit you. And I know in the States that's very dangerous, but we've got semi-safe weapons. And there is a certain joy in hitting a bad guy with a bedpan or a shovel.
hmm hmm
Um, and so I've done those for years, and it's really interesting the crossover. So I use techniques from that in my magic, and I use techniques from magic in that to create props. So now I do magic performance. I describe myself as a magician, storyteller, and prop maker. And that's how I earn my keep. I do bizarre magic. It's my absolute first love. I would say that most of my paid performances are for family magic shows.
Hmm. Hmm.
And to be honest, I mean, I have done seances for children and have no problems whatsoever. Um, and but my family magic show, it very sort of wizard themed. I do all sorts of bits and pieces. So that's the more traditional sort of magic. I've got the bizarre magic. I got a love of storytelling, and I create props, both custom props.
Yep.
People people come to me and say, "I'd love to do this," and we go, "Ooh, what's your budget?"
Hmm.
Because as we know, everything is possible if you have the budget. We've
Yeah.
just sent
Oh,
4 people around the moon, and that's possible
yes.
with the budget and the skills. Um,
Yes.
so that's really interesting because you get to work then with an individual and give them exactly what they want. And I've got a growing line in my own props. And I know some of the people watching own some of them. Some of them have very strong views on them, which we can talk about later on. Um, and I like to think of my performance. I'm a performer first. So I don't think sort of slotting me into little pigeonholes
Right.
it works for me because I work across. I'll work anywhere. I'll create a performance for your venue,
Sure.
and I
Yeah.
have no problems with that, and that's brilliant. I was once defined. I was introduced with the phrase, and now the undefinable Ashton Carter, which I quite liked. I think
Yes.
that's quite fun.
Uh,
Um, but yeah, it's really exciting, and I'm very busy, which is really nice because when you take these steps and you go, it's really risky to put behind you a very successful career where
hmm.
you're really good at what you do, but you don't enjoy it anymore.
Right.
And take that leap and think, well, is anyone going to book me? Is anyone going to buy my things? And that's quite difficult. And now, it's great. Of course, in the middle of all of that, we had the pandemic.
Yep.
Of course, we all had to pivot and find other ways of working. But
Hmm.
yeah, it's great. So I've got a residency in a local wizard themed cafe and bar.
Good.
If you're in Sheffield, you should go to a place called the Steel Cauldron.
Okay.
It's really cute. If you've ever heard of Def Leppard,
Yep.
it is the bar where Def Leppard used to meet before their rehearsals.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
it is now no longer the blues bar as they would have known it.
Mm.
It's now been transformed into this amazing sort of wizard themed venue. So that's really good. So technically, I am the only wizard in residence in the world
Wow.
because
Yeah.
New Zealand sacked theirs, which was quite fun.
Oh, wow.
Apparently they weren't getting value from him. So yeah, so that's really nice. I'm the only wizard in residence, and that's quite fun because I meet lots of artists in residence, and it's like, oh, that's quite good. What do you do? Well, I'm a wizard in residence, which is great.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
yes, that's me in a nutshell. Essentially, I love my bizarre magic. I love my horror. I love all of the sort of the paranormal stories, and bizarre magic lets us play with all of those things.
mhm.
Nothing is off the table. All of those stories can be real, they can be faked by the government, and it doesn't matter. And we get to tap into that. And I love seeing, the different ways people perform bizarre. Because with traditional magic, quite often we get the and I'm guilty of this. We get the grey man in the suit that comes and does the ambitious card, and then we'll do a few other things and then move on. You don't get that with bizarre. You get all sorts of different ways of telling stories, of doing magic, and it's
Yeah.
fascinating. Some work really well. Some we should,
Yeah.
we have to be self-critical. I mean, I've done some right stinkers, really, but it's only by
Good. Yeah.
experimenting, and
Yeah. Yeah.
and that's where Doomsday is really good. So if you're ever in the UK in May, come to Doomsday. It's
Yeah.
on in Derby. I know Kevin, who's in with a live feed, is a regular. It's really good. I think it's the 16th, 17th this year. If you search online for Doomsday Gathering, you'll find us. And I'm on the committee with various other people, and it's bigger and better every year.
Yes.
So yeah.
Yeah, I think even May will be there, right?
Hmm.
Even May, Nick.
Pardon?
Even May.
Yes.
Even May. Yeah.
Eva,
Yeah.
Eva always comes down, and she's brilliant.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
bless
I
her.
love her. I love
But
her.
yeah,
Yeah.
so this
Yeah.
year we've got we've got all sorts of people. So we've got we've got professors talking about their work. We've got performers. We've got a experimental performance artist doing amazing things.
Yeah.
And the best bit is we have a thing called Critchlow's Corner, where it's an open mic system where if you want to perform in the bar, you ring the bell and you do whatever you want to do, and it's brilliant. It's a real family feel, which is really
Yeah.
nice. You put your ego at the door, and it doesn't matter who you are, you're treated the same. So yeah, but that's
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
sorry. As I said, Tommy, I can just keep talking. So you have to
Well,
rein me in.
um, I will if I feel the need, but so far, I would like to go back to um, doing seances for kids.
Yeah. So
How does that look?
So what I found is one of the things I do in my residency as a wizard is I do a regular magic show, wizard themed. So all the stories are about wizarding tasks, without referencing she who will not be named for obvious reasons. Um,
Yes.
proper wizards, real dragons and spells,
Mm-hmm.
and that's great. But the venue always goes big at Halloween, always goes big, and the children have a break. They have half term in the UK, so it's a 1 week holiday between Christmas and September when everything starts up again.
Okay.
So everything gets dressed up. And a venue that is already at 11 in its decoration, and it
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
goes to 15. So I do a Halloween themed show, and what I've found is that even quite young children understand the classic monsters. So they
Right.
understand what a zombie is. They understand the vampire and the ghost,
Mm-hmm.
and they're really interested. So what I started to do a couple of years back was gently bring in some of the effects I use in my seance work.
Wow.
Um, and just make it about exploring and having fun. So and sometimes if I've got a room that's got very, very young children, all I do is I change the word ghost to fairy,
Oh,
because
cool.
try this, it's brilliant. If you change the word ghost to fairy, you can do the same effects by summoning the fairy folk, and everyone loves fairies. Now,
Yeah.
personally, I'm a fan of the British fairy, who are horrible.
Right.
All stories are British fairies are horrible creatures that will steal you away for 7 years. You're
Mm-hmm.
forced to marry the queen of the fairies, who will feed you beautiful, beautiful food until you're so fat you can't leave. Um, in the Peak District, we have the boggart, which is a
Yeah.
horrible creature that drags you off the paths when it's misty, and the boggart takes great joy in then following you through the mist while you just aimlessly get further and further into the bog,
Mm-hmm.
until you never return. Horrible creatures, but the kids love them. So I'll do my full pendulum routine. Most bizarrists have one, absolutely brilliant, but every child will get a pendulum. and we'll bring the fairies into the room, and we'll get the fairies to brush past, and we'll see. Oh, where are the fairies going? Who are they? Who do they really like? And you can see who they really like because their pendulums are spinning. And when you've seen three siblings doing competitive pendulums, and it's brilliant, absolutely brilliant. And it's really safe. It's really good fun. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and we can summon a ghost. So we summon my friend Howard. He's a very friendly ghost, and he lives in a mirror. And I've got one of Vince Wilson's mirrors where if you take a photo of it, you see a ghostly figure. He gave me one at a Doomsday, and
Mm-hmm.
it's brilliant because it's got a palm that really spookily comes out.
Wow.
And so we summon Howard, the friendly spirit. No IP theft, honest governor. So we bring him into the room and he demonstrates some things using classic seance things, effects.
Mm-hmm.
And then he goes back into the mirror. That's all lovely. Everyone's safe. Everyone's had a great time. And then I say at the end, if you want to have a photo, if you come and you have a selfie with me and Howard, and I'll stand there with the mirror. And if sometimes he shows up in the mirror. And what happens is I know that half of the kids' mums that will take the pictures, half of them will use a flash and half of them won't. And if they use a flash, when you zoom in, you get the spooky hand.
That's,
I think,
yeah,
it's brilliant.
that's
Um,
brilliant.
I think kids are really resilient to these things. So as a standard item, I really use a really cute crocheted voodoo doll. Okay, it's really cute. It's got a massive head. It's got a big pin, and it lives in a little wooden coffin. And I do a voodoo effect. Um, and I call it Scooby Doo Voodoo.
Oh.
Oh, do we want to do something really spooky? Do we want to do some Scooby Doo Voodoo? Now they all watch Scooby Doo. It's on all of the channels that they've got. They've all watched Scooby Doo, and they all know that Scooby Doo is just a man in a mask, the ghost. Absolutely brilliant.
Mm-hmm.
We do a little thing, and it's great because
Yeah, yeah.
absolutely. And we frame it as has someone been mean to you in the schoolyard? Is there someone that you want to get a little bit? You want to make their life a little bit harder? We don't say you're going to stick a pin in and it's going to cause them pain. We dress it up as well. You're going to give them a little headache, or give them an itch. Oh, have you ever had an itch that you can't scratch? And in this way, we frame it as something that the kids can enjoy, but
Mhm.
also there is a bit of spookiness to it. And in a Halloween setting, it's brilliant. And the only thing I don't do is I don't use my syringe to inject um, bleach into my eye. I don't do that with the kids just because they're just gonna copy it.
Yeah,
But all
yeah.
of the spooky stories, um, I think with the right audience, and you have to judge it. If you've only got 5-year-olds in there, then I think you've got to be careful of what you do.
Right,
But when you've
right.
got 7, 8, 9-year-olds there with their families, uh,
Mm-hmm.
and I always check. I always go around and meet everyone before because they're all at tables and they're all getting food and drinks. And I say, well, do you think we could would you like it to be a bit spooky? And they're like, yeah. It's like really spooky. Yeah. So that's fair enough. That's consent. That's good
Yep,
enough.
yep, yep.
But yeah, I mean, I've often said that I think in bizarre magic and in theatre, you can do and tell stories, and you should, that maybe you wouldn't in other forms of entertainment. And I think, you know, every bizarrist I've ever met enjoyed reading the Osborne Book of Ghosts when they were growing
Mhm.
up. The books about the paranormal. They read all of the ghost story books. We watched Arthur C. Clarke's Mysterious World. I don't know whether you had that over in the States in the sort of 70s, 80s.
I think we did, yeah.
And everyone is fascinated by the spooky stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And the kids know it all. They know all of the tropes. They know all about, I do a thing about vampires. And I say, what do we know about vampires? And they know everything. They're like, oh, stake through the heart, holy water, crucifix, religious symbols. They know it, so you can play with it. And as long as you approach it in this is fun.
Yeah, playful.
You're not
Yeah,
trying to scare the bejesus out of them. This isn't a midnight séance on
right.
Halloween where people have paid to be scared. This is fun. And it's
Yeah,
brilliant. It really is. And if you've never tried it, you should try it because it opens up a whole new set of ways of presenting things.
yeah.
Because I'm a great one. I'm quite a lazy person. Um, and when I've spent the time learning the technical details of a magic effect, I want to be able to use it everywhere.
Hmm.
So I would rather than learn an entire new effect and have to bring it up to the standard that I need to have it at for a paying audience, I'd rather have something that I could do with my eyes closed and be able to reframe it to give it a new story.
Hmm.
So one of the things that I use the pom pom prayer stick, which
Okay.
magicians hate. Yeah, you pull that out in a magic convention, and people are like, "Oh, it's rubbish."
I love it myself, but
It's brilliant. It's
yeah,
fantastic. And I
yeah.
use it. I use it in comedy cabaret. I use it in family shows. I've got themed stories for it,
Mhm.
for wizarding, for just a bit of comedy knockabout. I have
Right.
u- I used it as an opener for my Bizarre Magic show
Hmm.
that I took to the Edinburgh Fringe. And I
Oh,
started with a bizarre opener using a
yeah, yeah.
it's a great creative exercise that people watching you should give it a try, which is take your favorite effect and write down 5 ways you can perform it in 5 different environments, and
Mm-hmm. Hmm.
you will surprise yourself. And suddenly you have a situation then when if you're performing to the same audience over and over again, and a lot of magicians are like that, they do it as a hobby, they do it because they love the magic and they love showing it, but their audiences are the same. It's the people in the pub, it's the people in church, it's the people in your social circle. And they learn a trick and then they're like, oh, I can't use it again because I've shown everyone. Well, if you do the same trick with a different set of cards or with some slightly different props and a lot of mentalism, you can do that. With a lot of mentalism, we're asking people to pick, pick one of 3 items.
Right,
Pick, yeah, and if you use 3 different items with different stories, they'll never cotton on that it's the same effect
right.
because you're really taking them with the theatre. And I love it. When part of my lecture for Magic Clubs, we talk about reframing. You have people come up afterwards go, oh, that's brilliant because I really love doing this, but everyone I know has seen it. And then we just do a quick workshop. We say, that's brilliant. So have you tried doing it with tarot cards? Have you tried doing it with blank cards? Have you tried doing it with foreign money? It's brilliant. And there's magic can be so creative. And sometimes we limit ourselves because we see what's written and we think that's what we have to do. And we
Yeah,
don't.
yeah.
We don't.
I personally I do that a lot. I try not to, but I pigeonhole myself based on what's written or if it's a marketed effect. I pigeonhole. Well, I can only do it that way. It's only been in the last 15 years that I've done what you're talking about, where I either write down or I think about 5 different ways to do the same effect with different, like bizarre comedy, um, you know, street magic,
Yeah.
you know. Um, even when I was younger and more fit, I did escapes, and I didn't do straight if oh, once we get out of this, once we get out of that, it, I came up with a story, for each one that made sense. Um, and reason why I asked you about the seance with kids is I have done Halloween shows with kids, and when I first started, I was afraid that they would be scared. Um, and I remember in the first show, uh, I did my first effect, and a couple of the older kids were like, "Is it gonna be any scary stuff?" And I thought what I had just done was pretty scary for me, but so
You
you're
you
right.
have to be careful. You have
Yeah,
to do
oh,
it
yeah,
to your
absolutely,
You
yeah,
really do.
yeah,
Although saying that, I did my standard sort of 10-minute seance, which is designed for museums and events where people come up in a group, spend 10 minutes, and then move on to the next thing. And I was doing this. I was doing this with Nick, who's Nick Taylor from Huddersfield,
right.
who is a long-term collaborator. Hi, Nick. We've done some amazing things together, which we might touch on.
Yeah,
But I remember being set up for an event. It was a brilliant event, and some Nick's a lecturer, and some of his students were being marked on a sort of a ghost tour type immersive theatre thing. And we had my mentor Roger Curzon was doing things, and we were the early evening entertainment before there was a showing of the Cabinet of Dr. Caligari with a score that had been written many years previously but had never been publicly played. And the university had created an orchestra, and they were going to do, and it was amazing. It really was. It was an amazing evening. But I had one of the students on the I was waiting for the second group to turn up, and one of the students said, "There's an 8-year-old in the group. Is that going to be a problem?" And it's like, well, they know what they've signed up for.
yeah,
The kid had a great time, absolutely brilliant.
very cool.
And we
Yeah,
didn't dumb that down. We didn't change it. We didn't reframe it because I didn't think it was fair on everyone else who'd
right.
kind of come in couples and things. And but I just checked in right at the start and said, are you going to be okay? If you're not okay, don't worry.
Yeah,
I'll,
yeah,
I'll
yeah. Uh, I did a seance a couple of years ago downtown, and they were mostly adults. There was one teenage girl who I think was about 12 or 13, and I could see about halfway through that she was starting to panic. And I just stopped in the middle of the act and said, "Are you okay? It's okay. This is all fake. It's okay."
Yeah.
And, you know, and she said, "Oh yeah, I'm fine. I'm fine. Are you through?" I got up from my table. I walked up to her, and I made her laugh. And made her feel safe again.
And
And
I mean
then,
that's a
yeah,
big thing for me is when we're playing with dark themes, and we can play with some really dark themes.
yeah,
We have to do it in a responsible way. We have
yeah,
to do it in an ethical way. And I once gave a talk that was like bizarre magic, um, ethical ethical performance in unethical practice,
yeah,
or ethical practice in an
yeah,
ethical performance. Um,
yeah,
there are ways that we can check out an audience, and there's ways we can work, and there's ways we can introduce things. Um, so in my shows, I tend to do a first act, which is story-based bizarre magic that leads into a second act that is seance. And I always give the audience the opportunity to not come back.
Yeah,
And I always
absolutely.
make it
Yeah,
really easy for them to not come back, because hopefully they'll have had a great time anyway in the first half.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
but then, I say, and if you don't want to take part in the séance, that's perfectly fine. No one will make you feel stupid. You don't have to feel,
yeah,
you know,
yeah,
you're being weak or anything. It may not be for you. Just go out at the interval and don't come back, and enjoy the rest of your evening.
yeah,
And
yeah,
I can count on one hand the number of people that has
yeah,
happened to.
yeah.
Although it did kind of backfire when I took a show up to the Fringe that had an element of séance in it.
Hmm.
And Fringe shows, you can get a very strange number of people coming. So you can have a full room one day, and then you can have three people turn up the next day. And I think it might have been a Thursday, and I had three people in, and they were having a great time. I'll perform to an empty room. I don't mind. If I've been booked, that's fine.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, and it was the lowest attendance that I'd had, and you give it your all. And
yeah,
I got to the séance bit. So it's a 10-minute sequence that ends the show, and then there's a 5-minute sort of encore bit. So they'd already seen lots of magic. And I said, and if this isn't what you thought was going to happen, or if it makes you feel uncomfortable, please leave. No one will make you feel bad. I'd rather you were happy and fantastic. And one guy got up and walked out. He was very apologetic. He said, "I'm really sorry. It's not for me." And
yeah,
I don't ask questions, because that's, it's their choice. Fine.
yeah.
And he walked out. So we start doing this very, very personal séance between me and these two audience members. And halfway through the séance, there was two men. They didn't know each other, and the one turned around to me and he went, "I'm really sorry. I am going to have to go." He stood up, walked out, went to the toilet that was very close to us, and was violently sick in the sink.
Wow.
I'm claiming it. I'm saying that was fine. That was the spirits.
Oh,
So he
yeah.
didn't. Yeah. So he didn't come back. So now I finished the show. I do the encore, the final piece, to one audience member. Finish the show. And he's like, "That was great. Thanks, brilliant." And it turned out that he was a theatre producer, and a booking person.
Hmm.
And yeah, that was really great. But
Yeah,
yeah, that's the
yeah,
most I've ever had walk out.
yeah,
And
yeah.
I think we have to give people the option, but also that
Sure. Yeah,
strengthens what is to come. Because if you're saying, "I appreciate this isn't for you. This may not be something that you want to take part in. You might think it's not safe. It might not align with your beliefs."
right.
Everyone else
Yeah,
is going, "What the
yeah,
hell's he going to do? What's going
yeah,
to happen?" And
yeah.
we're building anticipation.
Right. Um,
That is brilliant.
yeah,
So
yeah.
we have to keep people safe, and that gives me great joy, Tommy, that you had no problem with checking on an audience member
Oh,
in the middle of the thing.
I think
That's brilliant.
I think it's a priority is to make sure that your
Yeah,
audience is okay, no matter what kind of show it is. I
yeah,
mean, even if it's like a comedy show, and if somebody in the middle of the audience might not be in the mood to laugh, or you know
yeah,
I'm not gonna make fun of you. Are you okay? You never know. Maybe a family member passed away. That you don't know. So, and I'm okay with stopping the act and make sure that
yeah.
people are okay. I do want to say I don't think I used the word fake. I think I told her this is a show, like a movie, and it's okay. Who's gonna hurt you? And she was like, okay, yeah, I know. But I kept my eye on her throughout the rest of the show, And every time I saw her like leaning into her mom, I calmed her down just a little bit. I didn't bring her because I didn't want to embarrass her, but so I didn't bring it up again. But I was aware of, you
Yeah.
know, because especially in the mystery arts, I think that's very important. But I think it's important anyway to have that connection with people because
Absolutely.
at the end of the show, the adults came up to me and said you handled it very well, and I appreciated what you did for her, you know, and I may or may not have gotten work after that from that
Yeah.
experience. I think I did, but I don't know for sure. Um, but yeah, so I think, you know, it's a very important aspect because the I don't want to be the one talking. I want you to be the one talking, but I do have an opinion here and there, Bill. Uh, um, Many people think bizarre magic has to be scary, and it doesn't. It's not the definition of. There's at least 15 different types of bizarre magic that I can count,
Oh,
and there's probably more. But you know, I was under for many years under the same misapprehension that bizarre magic has to be scary, and you can't be funny if you're doing bizarre magic. Is it, really? I mean, if I'm a storyteller, doesn't it make sense to have a little a little humanness? You
you
know?
can't you can't have tension without release. You can't have fear without joy, because without the opposites, you've got no there's nothing to compare across. If you
Uh,
try, you know, if you see a show that just tries to be scary, 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 by the end of it, the audience are in hysterics.
right.
You've got
Yeah.
to have the release. You've got to allow the audience to go, oh. And I mean, the classic for that is if you look at any slasher flick, if you go and look at Halloween, the Halloween films, and the Nightmare on Elm Street films do this beautifully. Is you have moments of absolute horror with the perhaps, you know,
Yeah.
Nightmare. Freddy Krueger is one of the darkest creatures, you know,
Yeah.
and an ex child abuser that was killed by the parents and is now haunting
Right.
people in their dreams. That's
Right.
horrific. But
Yeah.
the amount of humor
Yeah.
that's in that film, you can't just see that level of nastiness. But
Exactly.
I think
Yeah.
you're right about, you know, there's a lot of people are very set, you know, this is how I see it. And bizarre magic is such a big sort of umbrella term. And that's
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah.
If people want to go down that route and explore those routes, that's
Yeah.
brilliant. But
Absolutely.
they have to accept that other people have different opinions. Um,
Yeah.
and that's why I love the Hex Factor, because we'll have in one evening we'll have 8 different performers, and there will be 8 different styles. And we've
Yeah.
had, you know,
Yeah.
we've had deeply disturbing things. We've had monologues where there's been one trick, but the monologue has been incredible. We, we've had people use do a tarot card reveal with an inflatable party balloon in the shape of Tweety Pie in a devil costume. As the whole audience summoned Woocifer, the legendary Woocifer of Doomsday, and that was Jim Critchlow, and it was, you know,
uh,
and you know, Jim Critchlow said he was going to be in Hex Factor, and I was like, oh, this has been brilliant. This has been really dark, and we summoned Tweety Pie as a devil,
that's
and it's all
hilarious.
bizarre magic, and it's
Yeah.
all valid. It's all
Yeah.
valid. Just um, you know, I mean, yeah. Who am I to say that's not bizarre?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I'm judgmental like the rest of us, absolutely. But
Yeah, I mean, even in the head factor that I was involved in, you know, my base is comedy. It will always be comedy. I probably cannot pull off, straight, you know, Tony and Zuzi type,
yeah,
performance. Although as much as I would like to, I probably wouldn't be able to pull it off. But so
that's yeah.
and that's fine. And I use a lot of humor. But what really impressed me was everyone's act was, as you said, each act was unique. And when we got to the final one, which was sort of like a monologue, and really maybe one or two effects in the whole thing. It was brilliant, and of course he won. I mean, because what floored me was I had spoken to him before he got in costume, and he seemed really meek and mild. And so when he came out and did what he did, I was like, oh wow, this this
I mean,
guy is good.
but for me, I mean, people say, oh, what's the definition of bizarre magic? For me, if you're doing a story-based effect that has a bit of an emotional hook,
Yeah,
yeah, that's where we are. You're not someone up going and someone watched your performance, they wouldn't just go, oh yeah, he did four tricks.
right, exactly.
More than
Yeah,
that. There's a
yeah,
bit more theatre. There's a bit more, story to it, but there's an emotional
yeah,
hook. There's a reason why
hmm,
the audience cares about something. And
yeah,
whether that's because you're summoning a dead spirit, or you're talking about the history of a strange object, whether it's tragedy or comedy. If you've got that
yeah,
hook, I think you can call it bizarre.
sure,
Um,
yeah, yeah,
you
yeah,
can't, we can't define these things, and if we try, we just end up looking
right,
foolish because someone
yeah,
will come along, absolutely fry our minds with something that we hadn't even thought
right,
of.
yeah, yeah,
Um,
absolutely. And speaking of finding our minds, let's talk about some of the creations that you've come
hmm.
up with. Most
Well,
recently, okay, no, go ahead. You go. Go ahead.
so I think the thing that I'm most known for, and I gotta say, I have such a gentle profile in the magic, the magic making thing, in magic dealing, because I'm terrible at self publicity. I am awful at putting my stuff out there on
Yeah,
social media and things. But the thing
yeah.
I'm going to hold it up. I'm hoping this works. Is the Magician's Guide to the Baffling Blocks. And this is something, and I think probably at this moment in time, Nick Taylor is probably writing devilry in the chat. If he does, just ignore him, um, because if you don't know this effect, it is wonderful. And it came to the magic world via Tony van Ray, the Dutch magician. And essentially, you have three little blocks, and these are the original blocks that were brought to the magic community by a guy called Andy Hurst. And he did a set, and Tony showed me over coffee at Blackpool, and it blew me away. And I'm sure that everyone that's watching this has got their own set. They've been copied. I'm not going to say ripped off because it's the magic world. They've been copied many, many times. There's lots of variations, but the simple thing is you pick up all three, you put them down, and you pick up the top block, and you feel something that is genuinely impossible. Okay, if you don't know the effect, you will feel that the top block is heavier than all three. And I'm not just saying that. I'm not saying that this is something that it's a little effect. It genuinely feels really heavy. And it's a problem in neuroscience. It's a haptic illusion, and it's part of a class of illusions called the size-weight illusion. And this is where the brain gets confused because it sees something that it is familiar with and has an expectation of what it is. And when you try and move it, it's not what you think, and it feels much heavier or much lighter.
Yeah.
And I saw this, and I was absolutely, absolutely thrown by it. It was incredible. And I bought a set, and I went off, and it ruined my magic creativity, because all I did literally for the next 4 years was how can I use these blocks? Where can I use them? And out of that came my book. And my book found its way to Andy. Now, Andy sadly isn't with us anymore. He died a couple of years back. But he was very frustrated to begin with, because he named them the baffling blocks, and that's how I knew them. But when I bought my set, I bought them from a dealer who said, I said, "Oh, where'd you get them from?" And he went, they're from the Far East." I was like, "Oh, brilliant." So I brought my book out, and in my book, I'm a big one for crediting. We should credit where we get things from. Whenever we develop effects, we need to credit, because we are not creating things. We are taking things that have already been created. It's very, very hard to come up with something new these days. We are standing on the shoulders of 2,000, 3,000 years of performance. So do your due diligence, find out where it's coming from, and credit. And the vast majority of magicians are really happy if you credit them.
Yeah.
If you don't credit them, they'll be behind your back forever. Okay, but that's fine. And I credited it in this book. If some of you I know have got it, I credited everyone that I'd ever been involved with this, and anyone that had sat through things, and I got quite a terse communication from him. And I thought, I've got to deal with it. So I rang him up and we had a chat. And it turns out that the person I bought them off, he had made everything for them. And they had not, and they, because dealers are dealers and they wanted to keep their sources, he hadn't said anything. So I'm like, "Oh, I'm really sorry." And I changed there and then. I put in the full credit, and and immediately put it right. But the thing that he said, what was frustrating was that I really like your book. It's amazing. He says, I was like really angry that this had happened, and now I know why. I'm not angry with you. I'm angry with some other people. But your book's great. That's fine. And a couple of years later, Alan Wong and I were chatting at Blackpool Magic Convention, and he said he wanted to put out his version of the blocks. And I said, "Oh, well, I've written a book, Alan." And I gave him a copy of the book, and he came back the next day and he went, because it's not very big, about 100 pages. Very small. Very, yeah. I don't waffle. I don't put a lot of white space in. I've seen the books that are 80% white space.
Yeah.
And he came back the next day and went, I read that last night. This is brilliant. I went, well, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. And in the book, I think there's 10 routines. And I use this as the basis for the whole reframing, because I was seeing magicians say, "Oh, you pick up all three, pick up the top one. Oh, it's heavier. Hey."
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's like, well, you're doing this effect down. So, yeah, we can do that. That's great. But what about if we use it for hypnosis? I've got clinical hypnotists that use it in therapy now for clients that find it hard to go through the standard inductions, because this is the ultimate in strength stealing. You can't not have your strength stolen, because it's like, okay, pick up all three. Okay, I'm going to count down 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, and you'll feel your right arm is now weaker. Pick up the top. It really is. So, and immediately we've got an effect that is so much more than what it actually is, because it's just doing that. There's no method. There's no gimmick.
Right. Right.
There is a no palm version. If people want to buy that, I can sell you a no palm version. That's fine. Um, sorry. Uh, when I do so in seance, I use this in seance. Okay. So in the 20s, they tried to weigh they tried to weigh the soul. And there are a whole series of experiments where they put dying people on scales, and they noticed that when they died, they were 28 grams lighter, or
Right.
28 ounces light.
Yeah.
Okay. And when you actually look into it, the scales they were using, that was well within their error rate anyway, because they weren't, modern microscales.
Exactly.
But it's brilliant because because we in our seances we summon the spirits. The spirits do things in the seance room, but they very rarely allow us to actually experience them. So, three little blocks, people feel them, and then we ask the spirits in the room. Any spirits in the room, please hop onto the top of the blocks. Let us feel your weight. And now you've got a prover. You've got the genuine weight of the spirits. Absolutely wonderful.
Yeah.
You got kids? You got kids? What we're going to do? We're going to take the word spirit. We're going to change it to fairy. So now we can prove that fairies exist. What do you mean you don't believe in fairies? Look, pick up all three of those. Now, come on, fairies, fairies, come on you come. One, two. There's room for one more. Let me just give you a hand. There you go. Sit quietly. And now the child's feeling the weight of the fairies. And it's the same effect given different framings. We've got ones with UFOs where the boxes. This was from a friend that was doing a corporate gig for an engineering company, and he was doing some walk around magic, and he had that in a little silver box, which he's stenciled on in sort of military stencils, Area 51, private, and all sorts of daft things. And so that inside the boxes were bits of material from the Roswell crash, and that they
Wow.
muck about with gravity. And it's
Nice.
brilliant. The engineers were like, "What? Huh? Huh?"
Very cool.
That whole thing, and I've sold so many of those. And if you ever see me at my stand at a convention at Blackpool or Doomsday, come and have a play, because I don't mind touchers. If you want to come and touch and play with something, if you're going to buy something from me, I want you to be happy with what you're getting.
Yeah.
And I absolutely have people that come past and they'll just do it. They'll shake their head and they'll walk on. And
Yeah.
it is brilliant.
I,
So that's the
uh,
sort of thing, that I sell. I constantly make those and sell them. I just think it's fantastic. Um,
I've done those with boxes of matches,
yeah,
uh, you know, and it's brilliant. One day I'm gonna get yours because they're smaller than a box of matches, but and probably more baffling. I I first saw the principle of it on a UK TV show,
was that
QI.
QI?
It
QI.
was QI.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was so frustrating because the reason they gave that it works is wrong.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Yeah.
I was sitting there shouting at the screen. My partner,
Yeah.
bless her,
Yeah.
like, no, calm, calm. But yeah, because if they'd reached out, we could have had a great time with it. But it's brilliant. And if you don't own a set, as Tom has suggested, you can make a set with matchboxes. Three
Yeah.
matchboxes, two empty, one filled with fishing weights, nuts and bolts, coins. Just make it heavy.
Yeah.
Put that on top, and you've got a set, and it's brilliant. And
Yeah.
there are many children that have seen my shows that have tried the baffling blocks and have built their own, because their parents have emailed and said he won't stop doing it. It's like, yeah, I know. But it's brilliant. For a while I didn't do any street performance, so I got
Mm.
a street show that I loved performing, but I found I was having much more fun doing the baffling blocks as a sort of a sideshow grind.
Really? Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and And absolutely brilliant. And just saying to people, if you feel something impossible, if you feel anything that you can't explain, just pop a gold coin in the hat. And in the UK, a gold coin is a £1 or £2 coin. Um,
Right.
and I would have at one stage I would have three sets of blocks going, and you'd hear this really satisfying chink, chink, and then someone would swear. We go chink, chink. Absolutely brilliant. I think it's a brilliant example of something that seems really simple, but with a
Yeah.
story and with a putting it into a context where it kind of makes sense because it's a nonsensical item.
Yeah.
And I love that. And the backbone blocks and absolutely brilliant. And when it becomes really easy to post things to the States, again, as it will, I'm sure,
Yeah. Yeah.
you can always reach out and sort you out. Absolutely brilliant. And that's what I like. I like I'm not very good at coming up with new ideas. What I'm really good at is sitting and chatting with someone who's got an idea and working around it and working out how we can present it, how we can reskin it as something else, and then build that new version. That's what I really enjoy. So a lot of the things that I make, um, they're not earth-shattering new principles,
Yeah.
um, but they're old techniques with a new spin. So I've got an effect that I sell called Evil Genie, and I
Hmm.
love Out to Lunch. I love the Out to Lunch principle. It's phenomenal.
Yeah.
And people, magicians, not bizarrists, but magicians, they don't use it. They think, oh, it's so obvious. It isn't. It really isn't.
Yeah.
If you present it properly. Um, and my mentor, Roger Curzon, came up with a great idea with color changing pens. So they're pens that when they write, they come out one color and then they change over time.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I worked out a way of taking these pens and putting them into Sharpies and then using Out to Lunch. You can be a genie and you can get someone to have, would you like three wishes? It's all right. Don't worry about it. I'm not a genie. Would you like three wishes? You can have any. What's your first wish? And we write it at the top of the Out to Lunch gimmick. First wish, and they'll money, brilliant. Um, and then second wish, see second wish like the second album, very difficult, always the hardest of the wishes. I'd like health for my family. Oh yeah, that's very good, very nice. And then your final wish, don't waste it, don't waste it. And I say, I'd like a, I'd like a boat. Yeah, so boat, fantastic. And then you explain what a genie actually is. And a genie, a djinn, is a spirit from the Arabic world, uh, crafted from the scorching heat of the desert. They're essentially a demon,
Yeah.
made
Yeah.
from the desert winds. Brilliant. And it's my job as a genie to try and screw over your wishes. So, if you ask for money, then, I'd give you £1 million on a safe on the far side of the moon, that sort of thing. But what happens is that as they're a demon, it needs to be a contract.
Right.
So on the bottom half of the Out to Lunch, you draw a little line and they sign their name. And it's fine because it's just a Sharpie, it's in black. Um, they sign their name, it's just part of the thing. And they go, okay, you take the Out to Lunch, give it to them, they hold it in their hand. And then you explain that what happens is the genie now takes your wishes and ponders them and works out whether you deserve your wish or whether they will
Mm.
curse you forever by giving you exactly what you asked for. Um, and it's like, and that's fine though because you're okay, aren't you? Because your first wish, what was it? Oh, you wish for money, didn't you? You didn't wish for an end to world poverty. You wanted money for yourself. Oh, no, that's not better. Oh, sorry, the second wish was better, wasn't it? That was health for your family, not an end to disease on the work on the work. Oh, you see, and you essentially show that everything they ask for is incredibly selfish. And I've done this to hundreds of people. And a friend of mine, Adam, was testing it for me, did it to hundreds of people. And one person in all of that gave 3 humanitarian wishes. At which point we was like, well, this is back for you. And it's fine though, but you know, it's all right because it's a bit of fun. I'm not a genie. You didn't sign in blood, did you? And they're like, oh no, we didn't. We signed it. So let's see how the genie has judged you. You turn it over, and of course you've now, with the out to lunch, you've got your pre-prepared statement, and it says, "I find you guilty of the sins of greed, gluttony, and avarice, and your soul belongs to me." But their signature is now bright blood red,
Yeah,
and it's beautiful. It's wonderful and absolutely great. But it's that blend of a story, a compelling thing, and also you're asking someone to make personal judgments based on the idea of getting wishes, and it's just fabulous. And that I really like that. And there's nothing new there. That's taking 2 principles that were already in print, blending them together around a theme. And I've always loved genies and the idea that, you know, what can you wish for that the genie can't screw you over on? And it's really hard. And there are endless stories in myth and in popular culture about genies and, you know, the vengefulness of them. And to be honest, if you were stuck in a teeny tiny bottle, you'd be quite angry.
yeah,
But yeah, and I love that. And that's what I do a lot of is look at something and go, oh, that's really good. Oh, if we put that in this. So I've got a range of pranks, and they're old classic pranks. So I've got you remember the spider boxes, where you
oh
slide the
yeah,
top.
yeah,
It goes,
and the spider pops out.
oh,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It was
horrible
great.
things. You know, that's really
Yeah.
mean. I got one of those, and I sell it as the relic of San Compo, which the story is that this is a relic, um, and it is the relic of a saint that is not a saint, because all of the apostles were made saints by the Vatican except for Judas. And Judas Iscariot, in some quarters, is seen as the actual hero because without his betrayal, there would be no Easter story.
Right.
And we tell the story of a small chapel that venerated his finger bones, and then there was a fire, and this appears to be one of the 5 bones purported to be Judas Iscariot, and anyone that looks upon it is cursed. I've never looked inside, but if you would like to, so you build up this wonderful story. Kind of is rooted in real life, kind of is an absolute fabrication. It's absolute nonsense. And you know, the number of fake relics that were around in the Middle Ages, absolutely astounding. And I love relics. We last year we did a tour around the Danube, and I must have seen 30 relics. It was brilliant. We went to every cathedral we could. Absolutely amazing. And you give it, and people, and if they're brave enough to look into it, of course, what they do, they open it, and the spider pops out, and we all have a laugh. And it goes back to that, you know, can you have humor in bizarre magic? Well,
Right.
we've just built up the tension. We've built up this item. We've built it up as a cursed item that has real history, and then and it's really funny, and it's sold really well. I don't believe that anyone other than me has ever told the story. I think everyone else has gone out and gone, hey, oh, brilliant. I don't care. Absolutely don't care. Because for me, that's that blend of the story, simple thing.
Yeah.
And there are so many ghost stories that we can use. And I love it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's my pocket money range.
I'm going to go out and get a box right now.
Oh, get one of the wooden spider boxes, age the box. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I'll email you my script for it. So
Oh, wow.
I'll email you because
Perfect.
it's fabulous. It's really funny.
That's a great idea. I love it.
It's also a tribute. In the States, did you get the British comedy show Last of the Summer Wine?
I think we did on PBS. I think
Yeah,
we did, yeah.
of course. So, a gentle comedy about a load of retirees in rural Yorkshire. But one of
Yeah.
the characters was Compo, and he had a matchbox. And this show ran for 30 years. And
Wow.
throughout it, he would take his matchbox and he would show it to ladies, and they'd scream. And we never knew what was in the matchbox. Um, so the relic of San Compo is my tribute to
I love
the
it. I
most
love it.
beautiful. But yeah, and I really believe that when we start mixing things together, particularly different genres and different sort of performance practices, we can create all sorts of amazing things. Um,
Yeah.
so one of the things I do, it's a joint venture with Nick and a friend, Kristen Studdart, who's local, is my cabinet of, well, our cabinet of curiosities. And it's called Mr. Punch's Cabinet of Curiosities because you are welcomed by my Mr. Punch doll. And Mr. Punch is a horrible man. He's a wife beater. He throws children down the stairs. He doesn't respect authority. He's cruel to animals, the crocodile. And our Mr. Punch doll is kept jailed behind chicken wire jail I got a set of thumb cuffs that hold his hands together, and there's a lovely story. And it's like, well, that's quite an interesting sort of image to be seen. And then people read the story. And the story is that the Mr. Punch is behind bars because of the man that owned him, who went a little bit crazy and ended up killing a couple on the beach on the
Oh.
last day of his summer season. And he killed them with one hand holding a hammer, and in the other hand was Mr. Punch doll going, Judy, 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 in the face, in the face. And a horrible story, absolutely made up, completely made up. And the judge,
Yeah, yeah.
and the police only managed to overpower him when they got the Punch doll off his hand, and then he calmed down. So the judge said, you're going to prison for the rest of your life, and Mr. Punch is going to be in prison as well. And we say that the judge got in touch with us and we look after Mr. Punch. And suddenly you have people going, oh, that's really tragic. And we're sitting there going, oh, it's not real. Because this story is quite compelling.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and in the cabinet, we've got lots of things in there and it's a space for us to explore and experiment with ideas and
Right.
try out old sideshow ideas and try new things. So we've got we've got a haunted doll, we've got a vampire hunting kit, we've got a shrunken head, but we've also got the Amazonian glass piranha, and we've got the only two in the country, and it's a beautiful goldfish bowl, and a UV torch, a torch that does UV light, and a little tub of fish food, and a little sign that explains how rare this creature is. And it's the Amazonian glass piranha. It's almost translucent, but with a UV light, you can just catch a glimpse of it. It's the perfect hunter. And the record we had for people looking for the Amazonian glass piranha was 7 minutes. And it's just an empty goldfish bowl. That's all it is. It's an empty goldfish bowl with a story and some props. I mean, it doesn't help. It doesn't help that with some little special effects, we can go and drop a few flakes in, and then leave a trail of blood. I mean, that, at no point do we do that at all. But it's beautiful and it's there, and people look for it, and they
Yeah.
question themselves. And one of the things we're trying with it is to get people to think critically about the world, to question what what is real, what is false. Because in the cabinet we have real objects with real stories. We have fake objects with fake stories,
Mhm.
and we have fake objects with real stories. So we have a voodoo doll. And the story of the voodoo doll, we all know the voodoo dolls. Voodoo dolls are used, have been used, and they're horrible. Ours was made by an artist that Nick knows, and it's completely false. It has a story of it being used, where if you actually know your history of the Carry On films,
Mm.
you'll know that the characters mentioned, I think, are referenced in Carry On Screaming. I think that's right, Nick. I'm sorry if it's wrong, but if not, it sounds great. Um, and it's just brilliant. And within there, we've got some little magic effects hidden away. But also and it's all story based. And I think on my YouTube channel, we've got all of the audio guides because we're trying to make it as much a proper museum as possible. So
Yeah.
this year, the last time we did audio guides. So you go up and you scan a QR code and you listen to the story whilst looking and playing. And it's really interesting seeing how people react. And one of my favorite interactions was a lady came up, and I think the lady came up to Nick and said, "I've got to ask, are these real items?" And he said, "Madam, every single item here is real because it's a physical object,
Yeah.
no virtual objects. The stories are the stories real, Madam? All of the stories are made entirely of real words." And it's that idea, that notion of channeling P.T. Barnum and just bullshitting, if I can say. I apologize if that, the
Fine.
word
Yeah.
through. But you know, and I often say when I'm in sideshow mode, it's like, it's not a con if we're all having fun.
Yeah. Hmm.
But yeah, and the greatest innovation we have was turning the gift shop into one of the attractions. So the gift shop is interactive. So we sell button badges, yeah, and you can buy a badge for £1.50, or you can experience the life of a slave worker for a well-known Chinese online tat seller. Yeah, you can become a child worker and you can make your own badge, but it costs you more. And everyone wanted to make the badges. They broke the badge. Yeah, and these are the things that we play with in performance. It's just phenomenal. But yeah, everybody wanted to experience that thing, and it reminded me of a wonderful art installation, which is the minimum wage. Do you have minimum wage laws in
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
US?
Very good.
So
Yeah.
this is it's a wheel, and literally you do that, and as you turn it, it gives you pennies at the same rate as if you were being paid hourly. And it's the minimum wage machine. And you turn this handle and you turn it for 2 or 3 minutes, and then like 2 coins come out. And seeing people interact with this thing and realize how much work is being done to make such a small amount of money.
Yeah.
Absolutely powerful. But yeah, when you give people the option to play, and bizarre magic, there is no other form of magic where people get so hands-on
Yeah.
and get
Yeah.
so invested, and
Sure.
and you get to play with the props. And we're in a seance. Let me give you the doll. Here's it's clearly
Mm-hmm.
not haunted, but you
Mm-hmm.
hold the doll.
Yeah.
Okay. And suddenly they're invested. You hold the spirit slates. I love spirit slates. They're so
Me
magical.
too. Me
And you
too.
you
Yeah.
give it to someone, and they and you see them clutching them. So but make sure no one gets near it. And you see the white knuckles holding. It's brilliant.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Punch's Cabinet of Curiosities. Um, if you ever get back over, Tommy, back over, then come and say hello, and we'll
Oh,
show you
yeah,
the because
definitely.
you
I
would look and you, oh,
I'm hoping to come back
you know.
this year, but if not, I'm definitely coming back next year. So, yeah.
Come to Doomsday, sir. Come to Doomsday, because
Oh,
then give us an
absolutely.
excuse to Doomsday.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And speaking of coming back, um, I'm going to ask you if you would mind coming back on the show, maybe in a few months' time, because
I would love
there's,
to.
there's so much that we haven't covered,
Oh,
but unfortunately, we need to
we need
wrap
to
up
wrap
the
up.
show. But
I would
you,
love to come back because I think you need to know how I almost killed an artist
yeah,
with the
well,
biggest illusion I've ever built. I mean, we'll leave that as the cliffhanger.
yeah, that was really cliffhanger. Uh, I, I really want to know how that happened. Um, but Ashton, it's been a real pleasure seeing you and
It's been a
having you
joy.
on the
Thank you
show.
so much for inviting me on.
Yeah, please don't go anywhere. I'm gonna put you back with the virtual audience. But if you have time, sometimes we hang out a little bit
Absolutely.
after the
Yeah, yeah.
show, and I'm sure people have questions for you. But in the meantime, it's such an honor to have you on the show and to be able to call you my friend. And I
Thank
actually
you
have
very
a
much.
couple,
Likewise.
I actually have a couple of ideas that I'd like to talk to you about. Maybe we can collaborate at some point.
I'm
Um,
always happy to collaborate.
because I'm rubbish at building things. I can build some things. You know, I have a pretty decent stock of my creations on my magic website, but there's really only two things that I actually built. Everything else is I designed and had other people build it for me. But anyway, it'll give me an excuse to keep in touch with you.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Anyway, um, thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. Ash, Ashton Carter, and yeah.
Thanks very much.
All right. So, um, what is there? So I wish I had. I wish we all had more time to sit and talk. But he agreed to come back, so we will work that out. Um, Next week, we have a friend of mine from the west part of the United States. He's out of Kentucky, but he travels all over the West Coast. You may have seen him perform. Uh, he's a student of Jeff McBride, and he's only been hasn't been doing magic for that long. He got into magic as a child, and then life happened, and he really didn't go back into magic until I think, and he'll correct me if I'm wrong, about 10 years ago. And he's really making a big name for himself as a wizard. And he's got a beard longer than mine. His name is Buddy August. And if you don't know his name, um, it's going to be a big one uh, pretty soon. So, yeah, and that'll be next Saturday, the 18th at 4 p.m. New York time, 1 p.m. LA time, and 9 p.m. UK time. And until then, remember to keep it strange. See you next time.
You've been watching Beyond Belief with your host, Tommy Burnett. Thank you to Ashton Carter. See you next time. Next week's guest is Buddy August, Saturday, April 18th at 4 p.m. Eastern Time.